visitors and maybe prospective members even. We just get a show of hands, and maybe some of the chapter members could just befriend them, or at least say hello and make them feel welcome. It's something we want to certainly do, is make them feel welcome here. We've got quite a program tonight. It's going to be of great interest. Before we get into that, though, we've got a few business items to take care of. One of which is that you may have noticed out in the lobby, and I hope you've seen it in the Genesean, that 2016 is the 50th anniversary of the chapter. It's hard to believe. And for our December meeting, on December 14th, we're going to be having something quite different, which is going to be a celebration of that anniversary. We're going to have some food. We're going to have some entertainment. We're going to have Neil Woodworth, the executive director of ADK, coming here to speak. And I think we'll probably have a few other things. And Jim Bird is also going to come, former president of ADK. So please consider coming to that. You can register tonight out in the lobby. Peter Collins. Where's Peter? He's going to raise his hand. There he is. That man over there is the man you want to see out in the lobby if you'd like to register for that. We are requiring registration because we're going to be having food. We'd like to know how much we have here and the like. So please register with Peter. There is a very nominal fee of $5. It'll probably be the cheapest meal you're able to buy in 2016, okay? There's a nominal fee for that, but please see Peter for all the details of it. Peter, did you have anything else you want to say about this?
Two things, and usually Peter basically hearing. One is that food is going to start at 6:30, our normal workshop time. So get here early. Don't get here at 7:30. Get here early. And the second thing is you can register online if you don't see me tonight.
Got that? Okay, good. A few other things. Bill Schweinfurth is going to speak to us a little bit about the upcoming winter lodge trip, our 36? 36.
So I'm Bill Schweinfurth. You'll find, if I didn't hit you up trying to shamelessly promote the trip, I've got these little flyers just as a reminder on your way out. This year's trip, we're about 60% full. The private rooms are fully sold out, but we do have openings primarily in the family rooms as single beds in the bunk areas, as well as a couple beds left in the lot. So this is a great trip. Many of the people who are doing this is our 36th year. And if you want to know more about it, you'll find the ad right in the Genesean. At the bottom is a link with more information, or you can even call me on my phone number at the bottom of that ad. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great trip. Those of you who haven't been there in the past, and if you're not familiar with Adirondack Lodge, it really is a wonderful place located there in the middle of the high peaks, right alongside a gorgeous little lake, lots of hiking, skiing, snowshoeing and the like, assuming there's snow. A lot of great activities there, and of course it's just a great group of people to be with for the weekend. Charlie Hellman, you had something to talk to us about?
Hi everybody. Well, Waterway season is winding down. We had actually a good representation tonight of the Monday morning group. They had a fabulous year of paddling. We had Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and a lot of weekend paddles. Looking forward to another season next year. We're having our holiday party the second Saturday in January. We don't know where it's going to be at yet. But I was handed something tonight that I just want to read real quick. It's kind of humorous. Carl Pledger came up with some old Tennesseans. This one goes back to 1970. And there's two trip reports in here that I just want to read a small portion of. He had one on Owaka Creek. where he had 46 people. There may have been more, but I lost count. And a lot of them were beginners and things like that. I thought that was humorous. The other one that was kind of scary, which I've never had any of this happen to me. Flint Creek is quite high and unusually powerful as 11 boats undertook the trip from Flint to Phelps. One kayaker had to withdraw early because of a concussion. By the time they were done, half the trip people had left. I gotta say, I've never lost anybody on any of my trips.
And our insurance company wants you to keep it that way. Rich, you have something for us regarding Expo, I bet. It's hard to believe 2017 is right around the corner, and that means our 20th Expo.
20th. Hard to believe, but it is. Like I announced last month, our first kickoff meeting for planning the Outdoor Expo is next Monday. It'll be at Tom and Donna's house, starting at 6 o'clock. Donna's over there, Tom is right there. Wave your hands if you need directions. You can either talk to them or you can email me, expochair@adk-gvc.org. If nothing else, you can come and have a great dinner with us because we always have good food. So bring a dish to pass and enjoy the night. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to emphasize too, those of you who haven't been involved in Expo, it's just a great way to spend time with folks. It's an enthusiastic group of people who work to put together our premier event for the year. If you haven't gotten involved in the chapter of the past and want to have a way to get to meet some of the people that really make the chapter go, that's a great way to do it. Jack Trader, conservation, I'm guessing.
Yes. Thanks, Bill. 3 items of note. One, this coming Saturday, November 12th, from 9 to 12, the folks at Washington Grove will be spreading 9 cubic yards of wood chips on the paths in Washington Grove. Best place to meet is at the west end of Nunde Boulevard near Comps Hill Drive. Washington Grove is a 40-acre, fairly primitive forest area within the city of Rochester. It's just downhill on the east side of Cobbs Hill Reservoir. So this Saturday, we're welcome to help. There'll be wheelbarrows and shovels will be provided. Bring your own gloves and wear appropriate clothes, bring water. Also, DEC has announced hearings on the Morias Ponds tract, the classification of that area. The hearing in Rochester will be Monday, November 28th, from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Golisano Sustainability Institute at the RIT campus. If you can attend, please do so. And since this is defined as a hearing, I assume that means that we can speak, we can have comments. And so it'd be nice if we had a lot of ADK members comment on the desire to keep this or classify this land as being wilderness. The DEC has looked at 4 other types of classifications for this land, none of which is wilderness. And the last thing is, one of our concerns with the Conservation Committee is after January 20th, we're worried we're going to have to spend more time being an advocate for the conservation of natural resources. Our concern is with regard to federal lands, is there'll be increased pressure for mining, drilling, and development of federal lands. There'll be pressure for reclassification of federal lands and returning or giving some of that land back to the states. Plus other changes that could happen within the EPA and the Clean Air and Clean Water. That's all.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be able to escape yesterday's events without mentioning something like that. I think it's time for Jack.
Hello, everybody. How many people still need a calendar, an ADK calendar? Put them up. Put them up. Okay. You can walk under. I have at least that many, so please. What else should I say? Pardon me? 16 or 17 dollars. so still $11, which includes your discount and tax and shipping. So please stop at the bookstore after the program, get a calendar. And because the bookstore will not be open next month, during our spectacular celebration of our 50th anniversary, those of you who would like a calendar and cannot purchase one this evening will still be able to get one from me next month during that event. So try to get a calendar before we get to the holidays, because I know most of you want one for that occasion. Rick? I know you're hiding back. I know you are. That's okay. That's all right. I'll read it for you. Jan. Yeah, try it all. Jan Daly. Come on, we're in a festival. We have to have a little fun. Jan, I've been waiting for you all night. Thank you for coming. Would you like to hear an ADK character, or would you like an ADK map and exam? Okay. And these are, just so that the audience can see also, these are your color choices. I'm sure there's a favorite color for you.
Yeah, well, in case I get lost in the woods.
Okay, that might be done. Still. So, how many of you are seeing this map bandana for the first time? Because I know the majority of you are so tired of hearing me talk about my powder blue one. But here it is with a map of the High Peaks area, just as backup if you should ever need it, because your map has failed for some reason. And this does withstand repeated washings, and those of you who don't want to hear my little spiel again about mine can talk about it. Thank you so much, Shannon. Thanks, everybody.
And finally, I'm going to ask Don Vincent to come up here and introduce our speaker for tonight.
Okay. Well, I am so honored to be able to introduce Rick French. He's, as you probably know, he's the president of Pack Ski. It's an adventure travel group in this area, and a lot of you have probably gone on trips with him. He's also on the board of directors for Journeys of Solution, and I hope he's going to talk about that a little bit more tonight. He's also a member of ADK, and he's a very faithful participant in Expo. Thank you, thank you. So I asked Rick if he could give me a few pieces of information, and so here we go. All right, go back over here. All right, so he said, here's that light there. He said his first tent camping trip was when he was 11. He got soaked. He cried all night. His first canoe that he wrecked was on Waka Creek at the age of 12. He got stuck underneath it, and he's been having adventures wet and cold ever since then. Rick, he wanted to be a wildlife biologist, but he said that when he took his first college course in biology, he thought, I really want to be outside, I don't want to be inside. And there's no way, he said, I could deal with the structure of the academic world. So he's been scheming to find ways to be outside ever since then. And he said, fortunately, it's not necessary to have a real job, but he thinks he might have to do that one day, maybe not. Rick has been in over 30 countries, and on all 7 continents. In fact, this year he's been to all 7 of them within this year. If you count, New Zealand is sort of the same as Australia. So he's been in earthquakes, he's been in volcano eruptions, he's been in floods, he's been in riots, he's confronted charging elephants, he's confronted overzealous crocodiles in a dugout canoe on a river. He said, this is really nice, he said, I'm married to the most beautiful, tolerant woman that I know. And he said he considers himself absurdly blessed to share time in the outdoors with his son. And I want to finish by reading what he said that I think is probably timely. Rick said, I treasure time in the outdoors, sharing the adventure and beauty of it with others, and consider myself the richest person I've ever met. I feel the world would all be a much better place if the leaders in the world all went pack rafting in the Arctic. And by the time they reached the ocean, if they lived, they would understand to the depths of their souls the value of peace, connection to each other, and the earth. They would realize that they currently live in an illusion of power and wealth. Nature always trumps all. Please join with me in welcoming Rick French.
Yeah, after I wrote that, I said to my wife, I said, I think I must have been drinking when I sent that to Donna. So probably like a lot of you folks last night at 2 o'clock, I'm laying in bed, looking at my tablet, and my little messenger pops on. It's my friend Yusuf in Africa. So Yusuf and I were watching the election results together. And Yusuf's coverage was better than in this country. He knew Trump was president before I did. So anyway, today I'm a little more somber than usual. Usually I'm a little lighthearted and somewhat on the ridiculous side. But I gotta say, this is like homecoming here tonight with all you guys. It was just really lovely, you know, and you know, for me, a lot of what I'm talking about tonight is kind of what I've been experiencing, you know, with all you folks here that came that I know some for so many years. It's really amazing. And actually the things I want to talk about tonight, you know, with the election stuff, just makes it even more poignant. I think it's really important. The experiences that many of you have had in the outdoors. Anyway, raise your hand if you've ever had an outdoor adventure. Good, I was hoping I would have some common ground here. You know, it's kind of hard to talk to like a bunch of engineers about bonding in the outdoors. Yeah, so that's good, it's great. What I want to do to start here tonight, and I wasn't going to start with this before today, what I want to do is read a prayer that's thousands of years old. This prayer comes from the Upanishads. A little bit later, over on the table there, actually this prayer is written on some prayer flags over there. I'll explain more about those prayer flags and the prayer, but I thought this prayer that's on the necklace over there was a nice way. I used it to frame my mind. I was actually at Washington Grove walking my dog tonight. I think it was a nice way for me to frame my mind and to guide what I wanted to do with tonight's talk. So this is the prayer that's written on there. For those of you who don't know the word Om is the sound of all things. Om is not good, it's not bad. But if we take all things, they say it's the sound of Om. And Om is the sound that brings us peace. It's the sound of all things. So this is what's on the prayer flag there. May we hear only what is good for all. May we see only what is good for all. May we serve you, Lord of love, all our life. May we be used to spread your peace on earth. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. That's from the Upanishads, written thousands of years ago, before Christ, the Hindu prayer. That was a time when people lived close to nature. So, with that, get into this a little bit here tonight. What is the matter with adventure? All right. So, what does it matter if you've been to all 7 continents? If you've climbed some of the highest places on Earth and paddled its deepest canyons? So what if you've slept under northern lights flashing in the Arctic, climbed 46 or 110 peaks? Is life more than a collection of stickers you can put on the side of your Winnebago or selfies on Facebook? So maybe you've had some crazy adventures in your life. Now every slide here has a story I could tell all night just for each one. You can ask me later about each one. Maybe you've had some crazy adventures in your life, been in some unusual and exciting situations. Does spending hundreds and hundreds of days in some of the most beautiful places on Earth change you? How does deep immersion in beauty affect your very being? Most presentations mimic our cultural focus on what? The quantitative. So do our conversations. Did you summit? Did you walk the whole Camino? Have you done all 46 peaks? As in, what happened? Where did we go? What did we do? I have found that to live the richest life I can, to ask why is more challenging, more reflective, and a deeper question. It's also a revolutionary question. Tonight I want to share more of the whys than the whats. In the process, we all can develop more insight into meaning or what matters in our lives. When I was young, my adventures were goal-oriented. Hike 2 months to get to Canada on the Pacific Crest Trail. Paddle across by yourself, across the sea kayak, across Lake Ontario. Hike 5,000 miles around the U.S. You know, that type of thing most of us do. Part of my evolution has been to evolve why I go adventuring. Once I was up in Baffin Island. For those of you who don't know what Baffin Island is, quite far north here. It's up what I call Nunavut now. The Canadian government back then had a little bit more money. They sponsored me to go up there to explore a little. So I was sitting in a town you had to fly to get into, and I was wandering around town to look for a local Inuit who would give me a ride in a motorboat to the Penny Ice Cap area so I could explore this Penny Ice Cap. And as I'm walking around town, I had this realization. I was walking around this little Inuit town. I was as casual as if I was going around the corner here for a Slurpee. It was at that moment I had this awareness in my thinking that I changed in my mind what was important on the adventures and why I did them. My adventures have evolved into focusing on what I think are the most important parts of life. The parts of life when our obituaries are written, make it on to those last 3 paragraphs. This applies to all of us, whether you're an outdoor guide, an accountant, or work at a gas station. So what usually makes it into those last 3 paragraphs of our lives? I'll bet if you look at the obituaries, which I don't too often, you'll find that the content, I think, can be fit into 2 categories. I think they are how we touched people in our lives, and also the beauty we shared with or contributed to the world. I love how in nature, awe and beauty always returns to me, makes me back to my most soulful self. In nature, I'm always stripped away all those layers that civilization puts on me. Doesn't matter if that place is the top of 20,000-foot Chimborazo or dawn watching the bald eagles down on Hemlock Lake by my house. I'm guessing that a lot of you in here know exactly what I'm talking about. 2 years ago, I spent 6 weeks on the Camino de Santiago, a pilgrimage to pull together where I was at in life, what gave my life meaning, and how to live life for the last third of my life, making as many conscious choices to include experiences to fulfill my purpose. Again, I just returned only 2 weeks ago, a little less than 2 weeks ago, from a second 4-week pilgrimage there. I gathered in my heart and mind the parts I consider the most meaningful parts of my life. I committed to living life more fully in those areas. I I consolidated these experiences into an overall project called Life Matters. You can find it on Facebook. One part of this was to collect the stories of others, what mattered in their lives, and tell their stories. I did this through a series of videos. Here's an example of one of these videos. And actually this video was made, it's my friend DJ speaking. I made these videos last year at the ADK Expo. If you weren't there, you missed being in a video. Hey Ben, it's kind of quiet here. Let's see if Ben can figure that out. What I'll do is... There's DJ talking anyway. We went through this like 3 times before you guys got here. I'll let Ben see if he can figure that out in a minute here. I'll talk about what I was going to talk about on the next slide. If it works, it's going to be really loud, so you ready? So this video here, oh, you can see the shirt that DJ's wearing there, and I see Bill in the audience here tonight too as one. The video, along with many of the others that you'll find either on the PPS website or on the Life Matters page. They're made by my 12-year-old nephew, as I mentioned. A lot of these stories that I'm going to tell you tonight, I'm just like a little piece of it. What you'll find in these stories is that they create like there's like a whole web of people, a web of things that happen. Let's see what's happening. You turned me off. I turned on. Okay, well DJ's too. Wow, was that me, Ben? Yeah, I got turned off now. The directions earlier was like getting ready to blow you guys out of here. You should hit this little button. He says if it gets really loud, that should hit the other button, and then all your seats are eject seats. So let's hope we don't get any more feedback, and that's the second button. It's happened before, but I've heard about service. Taking care of people. It's time to restart. Let's see what happens. Can I be back on?
Okay, what's your name? My name's DJ Kitzel. And how did you get involved with Pekowski? Well, I've been involved with Pekowski for 26 years, and it's...
Oops. How do you get? I think I did something that time. Take 2. I won't touch anything this time. I'm going to stand here. I'm not touching buttons.
Okay, what's your name? My name's DJ Kitzel. And how did you get involved with Pekowski? Well, I've been involved with Pekowski for 26 years, and it's been a long journey together that I've been very privileged to be a part of. And what matters to you in life? I think where I am right now in life, being the age that I am, what matters to me a lot is the quality of connection that I have with people. We all have plenty of superficial relationships where Facebook is to be believed, hundreds of them, but I think we're hardwired as a species really just to know a handful of people really well. And Outings with Pekowski give us opportunity to connect in I think a way that feels authentic and from an anthropological perspective really kind of ancient and beautiful. So I guess it's a connection of the people and also the ability to be joyful too at times and to learn how to wear that joy. Pekowski's given me the opportunity to be at play with children and adults, which I love, so it's allowed me to really cultivate the playful side of me that sometimes we can lose as an adult. I've learned tremendous amounts from Rick and Randy and Devin over the years and all the people I've met at Pekowski. I've learned immensely. I've learned a lot about leadership. I've learned about matters, about taking care of people. So those are some of the things that matter, and how Pat Pelski's connected me to. That's what matters for me. So I guess quality of connection with people, having the kind of connection that you want to have with people, and the ability to do that in a joyful way. That's what matters to me.
What I like about showing that to you guys tonight is, it was an interview that this nephew was doing for Pat Pelski, but you could substitute in the words ADK too. And the thing that Dita is talking about, I'm guessing that many of the things that you talk about are the experiences that you gained from that. What I started saying there like 2 or 3 times was, so I had my 12-year-old nephew making this. What I love about all these projects is, I just have like this little piece, and then it becomes like this web. In a few more minutes, I'm going to show you some other projects. But for example, my 12-year-old nephew, he did those interviews, did a whole bunch of them a day. Up to that point, the videos that he made were like superheroes and monsters. And at the end of the day, he came to me and he goes, I realize I have this gift, that my videos can tell a story. He says, I'd like to make a video of me and what's important to me. I have so many of these stories where like this piece, and then this piece, and this piece, how these things happen. And it's so much greater than just, one person. So this next project's one of my favorite projects. After the pilgrimage I was talking about, I saw this music video of people visiting Africa. They made to me what was this real hokey video. It was sponsored by a clothing company, and it appeared to me that the only way that it helped the Africans was the Africans got a bunch of candy. Well, it made me mad, so I decided I'm going to make a music video. Not that I know anything about music or videos. You're going to find a common thread of the stories I'm telling you, is that I often make irrational decisions and commit to things without the ability or having figured out rationally how I could possibly accomplish something. It takes a boldness to envision something and a faith to act on it. Unfortunately, we've been educated in how not to live life so foolishly. We've been taught to love security over soul, and our collective souls die in the process. Ask yourself, what do you value most in life? I guess that is decisions you probably made with your heart, not your head. Often the decisions that we make only with our head end up being mediocre, safe decisions. What we cherish is things that we love, and those decisions are often made by our heart. So with that thought, that if we live and focus each on our own self first, living in a way to bring into our life what matters, that coincidentally, we will change the world. I want to share this project from last year that I've started telling you about. I love this project. That's Juma in there, and Troy, who made the video you're going to see in a few minutes. This is Juma's family. So Juma was one of our reporters for many years in Africa with me. So when I got home from that first pilgrimage, I was sitting in my living room, and I don't own a TV, so I have this unusual habit of like sometimes sitting and just looking out the window at the amazing trees. And I realized I had a home to retire in, but my porters at 20 years did not, and it didn't seem fair. So I emailed Yusuf, committed to building some homes. I had no idea how I could do that, where the money would come from. But I committed to raising over $40,000 and bringing people over to Africa to help build the homes. Let's see. Put this slide by on. There we go. The next video by Troy tells the story a lot better than I can, what happened after that day in my living room. Again, I want to repeat, I want you to notice that this video is a culmination of hundreds of people's efforts, not just mine. My contribution was my lack of sanity to start the project. See how we do this time, Ben? Come on, baby. Yes. I'm backing off again.
important to me was the day we were planting trees, the women of the village, without us even knowing each other's language, immediately came over and held our hands and walked with us through the village and made sure we were taken care of. There was just something about being welcomed into the sisterhood club of women. It was amazing. It was emotional. It was touching. It was warm. They were caring for us. They reached out and touched us, and we realized that we were cared for, and being with them was just so special.
So what did that mean to you? Why is that important to you?
Because you don't need language to show people how much you care. Knowing that they cared enough to reach out to strangers, white people from around the world, and show that they were appreciative of what we were doing, and it made me feel good.
My favorite part was actually planting all the trees in the community and just doing that with people, laughing with them, having a good time.
We planted like over 1,000 trees and 400 people helped.
Small world thing to do is to meet all the local people and to enjoy them, and they enjoy you together.
Started with an idea of 3 trees.
The same. We all love to laugh and play and do good for each other and cooperate.
Part of the idea of the project was to go make music jointly with the local people.
I had 2 moments that were actually connected. The first was the second day that we were building the house, and I saw Jua just walking over there and standing still. And I could just imagine what was going through his mind. And then that night, when we went to Yusuf's house, and I saw Jua sitting on a couch with his baby daughter, that was it. That was the whole connection. That's the whole reason for being here.
What did you experience when you saw that?
Warmth. And a connection. I mean, that's such a universal response. I'm going to see my grandson when I get home. He's not much older than Julia's daughter. It was a connection between him and me.
And enhanced universal.
And
yeah.
It's so cool.
You're going to see some crazy good dancing here. If you want, I can show you this dance later. We could all do it. See? Look at this. Watch us move. That one. I love that.
What's wonderful about the people?
They're open and welcoming and genteel and friendly and helpful, and the children are just amazing.
In what way are the children amazing?
Because they're just happy to see us. They're engaging and jumbo. Everywhere. And then, what do you say about the job site, the house? It's just working with those guys, and it's just incredible. Well, it's a beautiful country. And it's flat out. Yes. It's incredible.
On the white shirt there is Maria Gilder, so we did these concerts ahead of time with different bands to help raise money, sing songs in Swahili.
First of all, I'm feeling like sad, and I'm feeling happy at the same time, because I know there are some Tanzanians, maybe they own more money than the ones which we have today here, but they have never thought about giving back, So when I'm having people coming and trying to help us, it's happy, very happy, but make me to feel thinking about them. Because we see like we have so many orphans nowadays, but I know there are some Tanzanians, if they can try to avoid not to have orphans, they can do it. It's like myself, I feel like I have more than the other people, so I adopted one of the guys, and he's doing pretty good, such a smart guy, and he's my elder son nowadays, and even when I'm traveling, I know there is a man in my house. wish other people could have this kind of culture of helping other people, then we may shut down all those orphanages.
Just someday.
Yeah.
We just keep trying, right?
Yeah.
We are building, we are building, we are building.
Let's use its youngest daughter. Putting up and they donated $100 and we put their names on the record. Pretty wild, huh? So a couple epilogues to that little video there, a couple things. The one tall dude in there, there was a big guy making music. He died about a week later of an alcohol overdose. Sad. That was really amazing. Guy that brought together the cultures there. And then also about a week ago, my friend Yusuf quit the company that he was working for since I've known him 25 years. The economy there and the way things are going, I wasn't able to make a living there. So one of my many projects, you know, everybody wants to go on safari, trying to help Yusuf over the next couple of years and send over some people. Some more epilogue though. So last year, I was sitting in a Maasai market with my friend Bio and his wife Lightness. We were eating goat, bought by the kilo, barbecued on a spear over a fire by some drunk Maasai warriors. Lightness heard that I was going to be building these houses I just showed you for my porters. She asked if I could come build some houses for a very remote area where she grew up fatherless. Here many women are thrown out of their tribe when they become pregnant without marriage, often from rape. They have no homes, no jobs. Last week, the first 10,000 of 17 was wired to put up the first house. This February, at least 7 of us, some in this room, have committed to showing up there and building at least 2 houses for the women. Anyway, that's how my life decisions are made. I sit around with drunk Maasai warriors with spears roasting goats. Anyway, if you want to help over where Jackson was over there, that poem that I read you was written on a prayer flags, and Greg and Barb donated a necklace there, so we're selling, you can go online, there's some envelopes there. You can buy a brick for $100 and that'll put you into the max 40 people draw for that necklace. And also Kevin Flynn, who you might know, if you want to go for an airplane ride, fly his airplane, I went with him. Kevin climbed Everest. There's an otter also from. There's information over on that table about those things. Let's see, what are we talking about now? Okay, so at this point, I hope you're realizing what Paul Coelho said just might be true. When you want some things, the whole universe conspires with you to achieve it. I have no other explanation for a lot of these projects I'm talking about tonight. I want to tell you another project. It's my son, actually, tomorrow is Friday. I got to drive out there and go on a little adventure in Canyonlands with him, Canyon area, because I couldn't get anybody my age to do it. We're going to do this really hardcore thing, and then like 2 of his buddies from college signed on. But it's awesome because they're going to carry most of the weight. This is really a good way to go. So this picture here is last year I went to India on a trek to work with Tibetan refugees and see the Dalai Lama. Why go see the Dalai Lama? After my pilgrimage, I decided I wanted to look in someone's eyes that was deeply spiritual. In this way, I would see what might be possible as a human being in the way of living spiritually. So I go see the Dalai Lama, where the Dalai Lama lived, see if I could visit him. Why not? Seems reasonable, right? Okay, I may already mention I don't always practice or believe in living reasonably. I do believe in trying to live in a way that matters. The rest of the story is how the universe conspired with me and opened up others to experience what the universe wanted them to have. It's also the story of the web of adventures, how when we open our eyes and hearts, we open to the collision of many pieces. So 2 years ago, I was finishing Everest Base Camp, trek with Kami and Lakpa. I think that's when Ken and Emily were with me. Kami's a longtime Sherpa friend of mine, probably 20 years. We've assisted his family over the years in various ways. I mentioned to him I was going to go to India and see the Dalai Lama, and he said, "Oh, I'm going with you." Okay. Next thing I know, so Kami's the one in the center there, a big smile. And on his right is Lakpa. A little later in the afternoon, Lakpa, who I've known for many years too, came over and said, "I'm going to see the Dalai Lama with you too." I really didn't know what that meant. Lakpa, by the way, summited Everest again, and his son in May. His son we escorted all the way through school and now is climbing Everest too. Later in the year, Doma, down at the bottom left, that's Kami's wife, I was telling some people a story about when somebody broke their leg at 18,000 feet, this family. Anyway, that family decided they would donate so Doma could go. Well, when the earthquake happened in Nepal, both Lakpa and Kami had serious damage to their houses. Let's see, another picture here. There we go. At 10 p.m. that night of the earthquake, Emily, who's in this room, had been to EBC with me as well as Ken. They called me and woke me up, and Emily's like, "We have to do something to help." And I was thinking, yeah, I need to sleep. Well, before I could sleep, Emily had concocted this plan that eventually sent over $20,000 to our friends in need in Nepal. After the earthquake, I told Kami it seemed that maybe we needed to go help him build his house. But he said no, he needed to go on pilgrimage more than he needed his house rebuilt. So we went to India. The whole trip ended up being sponsored, since we couldn't ask them to even pay for their lodging, or for their airfare, which was what we had originally intended. Anyway, when they showed up, we'd already been there for a couple weeks. I like that hat. It's a funny story about that. So Kami, his Sherpa's ears stick out like crazy, and they're always getting like frostbite and stuff. They're terrible shape. His wife's with him, and it's like, Kami, you gotta get a hat. So they're walking down the street, and his wife picked out that hat. It's amazing. When he was walked up the street in the middle of Dharamsala, it was hilarious. Anyway, they showed up in the evening, and I had been out hiking or something, and I hadn't seen him yet. Well, when they saw him, they said, hey, we're going to see the Dalai Lama tomorrow. And they were enthusiastic, and they told him I had to go with them the next day to the office and ask the secretary, and he would give me a piece of paper to fill out, and then I could see the Dalai Lama. That's what they had done. So the Sherpas went in the next day, and I waited at the office. When my turn came, I asked the secretary for the papers. He said, oh, you're American. You write an email. So I went home thinking I would never hear from him. Prior to the Sherpas coming, we went on a trek. My son, his girlfriend, my niece, her boyfriend, a bunch of other PPS people were with me. How they got there is more of the story for another time. We slept in a cave, huddled in sleeping bags as our Indian friends brought us try. They guided us out of deep snow and across treacherous ledges. They were only wearing plastic slippers and had heavy bundles on their heads. It was so fun sleeping in that cave. They went outside and cut grass. We laid in the sleeping bags and they brought us hot chai. Well, my son's really into slacklining. He taught the porters and others on the mountain how to slackline. I had this to emphasize how adventure and risk open us to connection. The what is a slackline. The beauty is the why of it, the connection and the sharing. And that's why we slacklined. In the mountains, we need each other. It's a universal need. In our artificial world, where we spend most of our lives, we often forget this, or worse, we think we don't need each other. We isolate. We spend our resources, time and money on isolating products and electronics, private homes and lifestyles that keep us from coming in contact with each other. Contrast this with being on the Camino or on a trek, where the highlight is a community dinner when you're tightly squeezed in a tent or a community table with each other. Part of our time was spent tutoring Tibetan refugees. They had all escaped, as did the Dalai Lama, over the mountains. That's a 30-day dangerous trek. What we did was called conversation class. So in conversation class, we discussed torture by electrification, how you can't call your family without fear they might be tortured for contacting you, what it's like to want to go home and you can't. We discussed the meaning of Dharma. Was there a heaven or hell? How do you live your life to gain more karma? Deeper conversations that I'm guessing most of us have had with those we've known for years. How many of our normal daily conversations usually revolve around what instead of why? Where so-and-so is going to school, what we bought on sale. Conversations are why are risky. What if we take the time to listen? It's dangerous. It means your heart may open. And if your heart opens, you're subject to possible change. So, despite my doubts, I emailed back the secretary, told him how I'd come to be in India, of our Sherpa friends, our tutoring, being there with my family. I told him of our trek and living with the local people, sharing tea and meals with them. I spoke of our daily koras, which is a circumambulation. Every Buddhist site has a kora. This particular one is this beautiful mountain trek around with monkeys and prayer flags around the Dalai Lama's temple. And that night, he emailed back to this disbelieving dreamer an invite. It was more amazing, joyful, and insightful, and tearful than I could have imagined to look into the Dalai Lama's eyes. I love how this story illustrates so many of the parts of life that I have come to believe that matter. The connection of family and friends and new friends, the power of the awe of nature, the spiritual connection with each other across boundaries that time and nature promotes, and how being open, kind, and generous adds more to our lives than we could ever receive by just taking. Contrast that to the last few months of the anger and hurt that have brought into our world. But we can choose how we spend our time. We don't have to eat off the menu what we are normally presented. Wow, so I get 40 years of these kinds of stories I'm telling you tonight. Each one, I tell you, would be a whole program itself. If I kept telling them long enough, though, I think you would find that stories are told because of the meaning they have. In the Barry Lopez book, Crow and Weasel, Weasel tells Crow sometimes we need stories more than food to live. Many of the stories and their themes involve how we find joy in what we share, not what we take. I often say, you come to summit Kilimanjaro and you will find the cup of chai in Yusuf's house will be the memory you will hold more dear. Journeys of Solutions, or JOS, is a story created out of that desire to share when one person's heart is touched. Jumping around here on my slides here. I've lost place. I'm sorry. Back up. So I'm going to tell you a story about riding an elephant across the river. I know that's not an elephant. I didn't have a picture of an elephant. So one time we were riding this elephant across the river by the Nepal-India border. We were looking for tigers. You're on the elephant so the tigers don't eat you. Anyway, as we're crossing this river, there was a baby with a cleft palate. In our group, there was a woman that also had a cleft palate. She wanted to do something to help. As it turns out, all it took was $100, paid for the bus and the hotel because a Japanese doctor performed the surgery in Kathmandu for free. The next year, we were riding another elephant across the river in search of tigers. The second baby, again a cleft palate, another $100. The third year when we went back, the family ran out and hugged us crying because we had saved the kid's life for $100, which you can't nurse when you have a cleft palate. So projects like that, I have a lot of these kind of stories. They kind of grew over the years. A lot of funny stories how they grew. And eventually we realized we needed a tool for people who wanted to act on a dream they had to help out. So when people were traveling, maybe they wanted to buy mosquito nets in an area for a village that had malaria or something. So JOS is a grassroots organization where people have wanted to build houses, build wells, give pigs to families to raise. Let me explain how it works. I'll just give you one example. One time I was invited for a walk with Bonnie and Megan. Now, Megan was a Peace Corps worker down in El Salce. At dinner there tonight, the gal that I ran into, she's been down in El Salce, knows of this project. Anyway, Megan had a local boyfriend, the back wall was falling in on the house, so she raised a little bit of money so they could fix up this wall. And when she got out of the Peace Corps, she had met Bonnie, who's from town here, down there on a project, and Bonnie got involved with this idea, and they're like, we want to build houses, we want to help build these houses down here for these people. For that to happen, you have to have a way to collect money, a way to market it. And that's what JOS is for. It's very grassroots, it's very just individual people, you know, are in charge of different projects. To date, 114 houses have been built out of that project. PPS sponsored a teen program of youth to go down. School groups have gone down. And there's a full-time mason employee down there. There's Bonnie there, actually. She's building a house in Africa. So far, since JOS was created, over $725,000 of projects all over the world have been raised. In addition, cancer climbers have raised over $500,000 for cancer research. Its total somewhere over $1 million have been raised. It's amazing just by asking the question of what can be done that all this has happened. It's kind of like, what's the matter with adventure? Oh, I love this little guy. Now, I'm telling you those statistics not to brag, but to illustrate what happens from the simple act of making friends, listening to them, deciding you want yourself to live in a way to provide you joy, and then acting on those dreams. I'm only a small part of this whole story. The story is all the people who have opened to the adventures of life. Let me play you another story of Elizabeth that ties together what I've been talking about. Okay, come on, Ben, you can do it. So even like that t-shirt there, a bunch of people conspired together to create this motto, to create this shirt.
Sure. My name is Elizabeth Callip, also known as the Delicate Flower. It's true. Delicate Flower. She's delicate. You can tell. Yeah. Delicate.
Tell me, how did you first meet Pepperoni? How did you first become involved with Pepperoni?
Okay, so back in 2007, I just graduated college. I was working at the American Cancer Society, and I heard about this extreme fundraiser to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And I'd been a marathon runner, loved endurance things, and thought, oh, okay, I can probably climb a mountain. Where's Kilimanjaro? So did some research, and then found out that through Pack Paddle and Ski, the American Cancer Society was doing this journey up the mountain. So I signed up for that, and then just arrived in Tanzania earlier than I was supposed to, without one bag, and somehow managed to get to the Springlands Hotel to be greeted by Rick and the rest of the people who were climbing. That was my very first introduction to Pack Paddle Ski.
And then where did it go from there?
So when I was a young teenager, I told my mom I was going to live and work in Africa with people who have AIDS. Part of the plan, I guess. And so shortly before I went to Tanzania, I got this, I am a person of faith and just really felt like I'm going to work in an orphanage. I don't know how that's going to happen. So the last afternoon of our trip, after climbing Mount Kilimanjaro and almost having pulmonary edema, which we think may have happened, survived. We visited an orphanage that was right down the hill from where we were staying, and I just knew I was going back. So I was back in the States for a few months, and then in January of 2009, I remember calling Rick and saying, I need to go back to Tanzania. I don't really know what to do, but I need to go back to this orphanage. There's something about it. And so he had said, oh, we just started Journeys of Solutions, this nonprofit. So why don't you create a project, and you can run it through Journeys of Solutions, and then we can sort of go from there. And so we kept talking over the next few months. So I went back in July with the family to the orphanage as sort of a scouting trip, and raised a bunch of money. We built a roof on the veranda, played with the kids for like 2.5 weeks, I guess. And then before I even left Tanzania, I knew I was going back. And I also, meanwhile, applied to graduate school for international development and was rejected. They said you need 3 months of international development experience to even be considered to be a strong candidate. So I thought, oh, I'll go back to Tanzania for 3 months. That'll be great. I was back in 2009, and I lived there part-time for about 3 years and then full-time for 2. So all of that happened from Pack Paddle and Ski.
So now we're fast forward 3 years, 2 years, back home.
I am. So in 2014, last year, I moved back because I was working pretty much without any sort of support system over there. Was very burnt out, very tired. Still manage one of the programs through Journeys of Solutions. We have 18 or 19 children who are sponsored in primary school or secondary school, so in elementary, middle, and high school. So I still do that, just from the state side. For right now, I'm just home, being with friends and family, coming up here as much as I can. I'll eventually go back to the field, not just yet though.
So the first time that you went to that, you said you couldn't figure out why. You couldn't figure out why. You didn't quite know what was it that called you back. Yeah. Was it just this was a different life?
Yeah, I think it's the purpose of my life.
So what the real back was moving? Yeah, okay, Pack Paddle and Ski, Delicate
So here's the epilogue on Elizabeth. No, I have to show this. On Elizabeth there. So, I mean, a lot of different stories and things that developed, you know, even beyond that. So she works down in New York City now in a worldwide nonprofit where she documents lethal drone strikes. But she was in Mongolia in July. I was riding horses across Mongolia, and she was with me, and we came upon this town. And I think it sounds like she's going to end up going back to work with the locals in this town in Mongolia now, too. Just pretty amazing, right? It's really amazing. It's an amazing person. But in case you're thinking that you know, these stories are great to tell, they're, you know, big stories, inspirational, you know, they get you to give the program sites, you know, that kind of thing. But probably most of you aren't ready to do things like what Elizabeth do. So what I want to do to end with is I want to tell you stories closer to home. What I want to convey tonight is for all of us to reflect and think about things that we can do in our lives to make a difference around us. Maybe late 80s, maybe some of you guys knew Dorothea Lyons. She paddled a single canoe. I see some heads nodding. This was a long time ago. She was probably 80 years old then. She paddled a single canoe with a bell, a big standard poodle. She wore a skirt with a knife on it. I don't know if she ever knew. We called her Annie Oakley. But anyway, when she got leukemia and she was dying, like many of you, the thing that gave her soul life was to paddle this canoe. And I got the call, or I called her, because I would check in with her now and then, and she says, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be around too much. And I went off and I had to do things for a few months. And when I came home from West Virginia, she had died. So I was in the late 80s. So from that point forward, I committed to, if I knew that canoeing or something meant something really important to somebody who was getting ready to move on in life, I committed that I would never again, I would act on it immediately. So BJ here, I've known for many years, and she was passing with cancer over a period of years, and every summer I would say, hey BJ, let's go for a canoe ride. She paddled a solo canoe too. So a year ago in the summer, I came home and I was checked in on her, and she said, oh, I don't have too much longer to live, I don't think. I said, really? Well, we gotta go canoeing. So she said, I don't know, they're not gonna let me. I got a full-time nurse, I got this bag of morphine on me, I haven't been out of the house in a month. I said, I know, but we gotta go canoeing. So she said, okay. So I came over, and when I got there, BJ and Julian had gotten out all their canoe gear, dressed up in their hats, got their about Life Vest out, and they were just like they were going to go on an expedition like the Big Bend, which they'd done was, we strapped a seat into the front of the canoe, and I scooped up BJ, she was a bright, scooped her up in my arms, when she was probably 62 pounds, picked her up, put her morphine pump in a dry bag, and took her canoe. While we were doing that, I asked her, I said, BJ, is there anything in the last little bit that's brought you joy? She says, no, not until today. And then she died about a week later. We had another cancer climber pass away this summer. He was younger than myself. His wife's our treasurer, Josh. So all adventures end. The big adventure of life will end. What will it matter when your adventure is ended? What I want to do tonight is end with a Mary Oliver poem. The Swan. Do you too see it, drifting all night on the Black River? Do you see it in the morning, rising into the silvery air? An armful of white blossoms, a perfect commotion of silk and linen as it leaned into the bondage of its wings. A snowbank, a bank of lilies, biting the air with its black beak. Did you hear it, fluting and whistling, a shrill dark music, like the rain pelting the trees, like a waterfall knifing down the black ledges? And did you see it, finally, just under the clouds, a white cross streaming across the sky, its feet like black leaves, its wings like the stretching light of the river? And did you feel it in your heart, how it penetrated to everything? And have you too finally figured out what beauty is for? And have you changed your life? Lights? Questions? question, or what are you doing with them now, Donna? Coming home? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
But yesterday I had a wonderful indoor experience. About 7:15 right into work, I cast a ballot for Donald Trump and Mike Pence. And I'd like to share that with everybody in this room. That was my indoor experience at convention.
Okay. Great, thanks. Other people? Yeah.
Rick, why do they plant trees now?
So the story of that is Yusuf, where he lived was a very impoverished area. And there's like this muddy area, there's a garbage pit there. And to watch videos or watch soccer games, there's just these dirt benches. And outside of that, he planted 3 trees that he would water through time because he felt they needed some shade. He got ready to move from that area. When we were coming over, he said, as a legacy, I want to plant 100 trees here. And what happened is they started, local people started a community experience there where they, that developed into where it was 1,000 people. So there's a lot of deforestation, there's, you know, the villages are really hot and dry and stuff. Trees just add a lot of beauty, but they add a lot of shade, help preserve water and stuff. Yeah. That's how it happened. It's just one of those things that kind of just kept growing. Yeah. Other questions? Comments? Anything else? 1, 2, test. 1, 2. Oh, look at that, a microphone. Nice job, Ben. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I think we should just mention, Rick, that there's so many NGOs.
Exactly.
In Rochester here.
So many.
Buying, South Sudan.
Yeah.
Building mines in South Sudan.
Yeah, John. That's right. Yeah, John did some stuff with the Sudan project. Yeah, I know, like the Spirit of Christi when they do like grants. There's like 100 grants, and you'd be amazed when you look down. There are like tons of small little projects like Joss, like the Sudan projects. You know, there's so many amazing, amazing projects in Rochester. You know, a lot of people, you guys in the room, I think how many of you guys in the room have helped do conservation projects, have done ADK projects. You know, how many of you guys have donated tons of hours to building trails? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
What did you see when you looked in the Dalai Lama's eyes?
Oh, it's just like just a real deep depth of peace and calmness. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. Other questions?
What did you see when you looked in your eyes?
A lot of confusion. They go, wow, what's going on in there? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you think? Well, thank you. Go ahead, in the back.
Are you growing away from the outdoors and more toward the connections with people, or how? Like I heard a lot about connections with people, which is great. I wasn't thinking of as much your raw love of all the outdoors that you've done in your life for some reason.
Well, yeah, because what I wanted to do tonight was tell more. When you're in the outdoors, you know, to me, there's 2 big parts. One is in the outdoors, and the adventure helps you connect with people, and the other is that immersion into beauty. So I was telling more of the stories like after the outdoors or what happens, but no, I was gone 23 weeks this year in the outdoors. I'll be going another 20 next year, so I'm certainly doing a lot of outdoor stuff. I can only emphasize one part. Yeah, so I was trying to emphasize more. When we're in the outdoors, there's like these pieces that I think are really important, that the outdoors accentuates. So that's what I was just trying to point out with that. But yeah, yeah. Just 2. We're still working on 2. They put the doors on a couple weeks ago. Get the septic system. It's going slow to finish the houses off. A lot of these projects are really, it's keep going. And work in Africa is crazy unpredictable. Yeah. It's expensive too. And then we're gonna, with the women's project there, we'll put up 2 houses. They're gonna try to get 1 done before we go. Yeah. 1 done while we're there, or after we leave. Different houses, different places in the world. Maybe some of you guys, I'm sure people in here build houses. You know, like in Nicaragua, they cost me $2,500 a house. It's a lot different situation. Just that acre of land where those houses were built was $10,000 just for the acre of land in Moshi. So it's a lot different depending on the country and what you're building. Yeah. Other questions, comments, thoughts? Yeah, Bob.
Could you explain the necklace again?
So well, somehow we need the money for these houses. So, and then one way to get money for this woman's house is Barb and Greg donated the necklace, which is valued at a lot. And what we're go ahead, Greg. Yeah, this is amazing. If you get a chance to look at this, I love this necklace.
Yeah, so this is it's an 18-karat yellow gold. My wife is a nationally known jewelry designer, and she's created this 18-karat yellow gold necklace that has that poem from the Upanishads that Rick did it actually inscribed on I think the back of those flags. They're about after Himalayan flags. And Rick is selling
40 tickets.
This is $100 each to raise money. We donated the necklace, so there's no cost of the necklace to him or the project, so it's all profit. And you know, it's an opportunity to own a beautiful necklace. It's beautiful. It's got some substance to it, but it's completely handmade. Everything it's not cast or anything. So one of the beauties of that is it can also be light and a little bit thinner, so it hangs very, very nicely and very lightly on the neck. So it's not a heavy piece, you know.
Yeah. All right, great. Nice job. Okay. Can anybody else help me with anything else in my presentation? Well, really, I mean, seriously, isn't it awesome? Like, I was telling some of the stories, but I love the videos. I mean, so many of you guys in this room, you know, parts of these stories. You know? Oh, if there's like a little thing, if you want to donate, this is just grab one of these, and it tells you what website to go to. Click, click, click. Or if you want to throw a check in a thing, it goes right to the site, too. Yeah. Well, Jet's got some of those up there. Just click on the Journey to the Solution. Journey to the Solution is super grassroots. 100% of the project money goes direct to the projects there. It's very grassroots. We can't get any big. We don't want to get any bigger than we are because it's hard to manage it with all volunteers, as you guys will know. ADK, it's very hard. So it's as big as it's going to get. You can look on the Journey to the Solution site. There's all these amazing projects around the world. People just get inspired and start. It's incredible. There's amazing people like John was saying that do projects. Yeah, really wonderful. Yeah. Other questions, comments? Anything else you'd like to say? It's so awesome to see so many people. I'll just end with one last comment. I did a talk last Thursday night. It's got a nice way to wrap up. I want to talk about here. I did this talk and this woman hugged me like it was a small talk. She just kept hugging me all night long. I hadn't seen her for like 30 years. When 30 years ago, you know, when I still had long blonde hair, and she had red hair. Her kids were maybe 10 and 11 and 12, and she was divorced. And kids were a little bit wild. We took them on a bunch of canoe trips. And it was just a profound experience, you know, for them. I just, you know, what you guys are involved in, the people that you get involved in here with ADK is really, you know, special. And the time you spend with them. I just encourage you to think of how can you take those moments and keep extending them into the rest of your lives. Because you guys all experience what you know is a value. Just how can we make choices to do that as much as we can? Yeah. But thanks, everybody, for coming. What now? Good night, Donna? Good night. Good night.